But anyway, she was getting a pug, and the reason she was adopting it was because the eye was fucked up and nobody wanted it.
Right.
So she said yes. The dog was on antibiotics, and the eye actually just recessed and normalized or whatever.
Oh.
So then we got this normal looking dog, and then like a couple weeks later, the other eye got fucked up. But it was a pug. That's what happens.
And it was like Betty Blue, right? Is that why you named it Betty Blue? Did you poke her eye out, your dog?
Well, originally I was on a list to get a pug, and they set me up with one, and his name was Buddy. And it wasn't those folks that we were just talking about. It was a different group, and I think they definitely bait and switch.
Yeah.
Because I was like, little Buddy, he's a little black pug. It's exactly what I wanted. I'll take him. And they said, okay, great. He'll come tomorrow. And then they were like, the lady who's fostering him has decided to keep him. But we have, Lois and Phyllis who crap everywhere and are 15 years old each. And I was like,
But we have
maybe,
a human boy.
Yeah, maybe I'm not ready. Exactly. Maybe I'm not ready. And so then this other pug rescue group, like a week later, approached me. So I was going to name him Buddy. I was all excited for Buddy. So she's just Betty. But then Taylor Swift has a song, Betty, that I love. And so it made total sense.
You've been to lots of Taylor Swift concerts.
I
probably.
have.
Yeah.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
I got to go to a bunch.
On this tour, though, where she's playing to like 80,000 people.
It was so awesome.
That's insane.
It's a great show. Hands down. I mean, I saw Elvis. Elvis was my first concert.
Shut the fuck up.
For sure.
Well, wait, first, sorry.
I've seen Rolling Stones, from the front. Like Elvis cheap seats, but the Rolling Stones, like right from the front.
Okay, wait. We have to introduce you first. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, sure.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to What We Thought Would Happen.
And we've been talking to a very special guest, Jamie Bridgers.
It was amazing. Jamie is not only an incredible comic, she is also a top-selling real estate agent and just an all-around amazing person. And when I met Jamie, we were at the free clinic, and let me, I'll just spin. I don't think you mind me saying that.
No.
And we were waiting to get tested, and Jamie had just gotten out of a bad marriage, and I had just gotten fired from the Hobby Lobby for sniffing glue.
What?
Yeah, but that was my hobby.
Shut
You just can't do it during office hours.
Wait, what kind of glue?
Airplane glue.
No, not like the rubber cement. Remember how good that smelled?
Oh my God.
It smelled good, but it didn't really get you around the mountain drugs-wise.
Oh,
No.
no.
But wait, what would get you there, Jamie Bridgers? What kind of horse hoof would get you high?
Yeah, exactly. All I know is airplane glue scared the crap out of me when I was in like junior high, because there must have been a big push at that time to like be real. Well, it was maybe,
It was the original
Nancy
Be
Reagan
Real.
was coming around. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
When they were like, don't do
I
drugs
found
or you'll lose all of your intelligence immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, uh-oh.
Well, it was very much like 80s and like the crack scare.
Oh,
they were
yeah.
scaring everybody with crack. And it was like, well, we don't all do crack.
Don't smoke pot because
Yeah.
you'll be stupid. I was like,
know.
shit.
Because you'll be
I was so afraid about pot. I didn't smoke till I was 16.
Keeps you young. You gotta smoke pot. It really
Only
does.
reason I didn't smoke more pot. I'm from Mendocino County, by the way. So, I mean, they basically hand it out. But when I was in high school, I didn't smoke that much because I read an article that it caused your hormones to be off balance and it would make you more masculine.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's a great way to keep kids off drugs. If you're
Deterrent.
like, you're going to get hair where you
Yeah.
don't want it. Like that's
Honestly, even as a teenager, when I started my knuckles, I shaved my fingers because I wanted feminine hands. I remember that was a phase in my life where I was like, I'm not ready yet. I can't have man hands.
Sure.
But I should have just been smoking weed.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it would
wait,
have feminized you.
There was another like old world deterrence, right? Like cornflakes were supposed to reduce your sex drive so you wouldn't masturbate.
Oh my God.
But that's like an old hokum.
Well, didn't they put saltpeter in the rations? I sound like
No. But I
yeah.
forgot about that. They did.
Yeah.
So that you didn't have like a horny army or a gay army. Is that what it was? They didn't want them to all turn homo.
We need to bring that back, saltpeter.
Gay
There
on-
are too many people on the planet. Saltpeter.
And is it even the thing? Like maybe it's just a
Placebo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even. What is saltpeter?
Is it a preservative?
More salt.
Well, now it's my trans name.
Oh my God.
What was I just thought of oh yeah.
Genius.
My new drag queen name is Maureen Layer.
Nice.
Instead of the Marine Layer, I want to be
Beautiful.
Maureen Layer.
It's really
I love
good.
that.
It's
She's-
gentle and classy.
But she's very mysterious.
I love it.
She
I love
can't
it.
enter the room or leave a room without a cloud of smoke.
Roller derby names
Oh, I love.
are so good.
Yeah.
And I go sometimes just because I want to hear
Wait,
the names.
where are they?
The LA Derby Dolls. I haven't been since before COVID, but they played they skated at a place in Echo Park.
Yeah.
And I used to go sometimes. When my daughter was in high school, she was in a punk rock band, and sometimes they would play like at halftime.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I saw Exene Cervanka do the national anthem once there.
Amazing.
And then they did some kind of a benefit, and Ed Asner was there reading bedtime stories, which is the most punk rock thing that's ever happened.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
Equally, there was a roller derby in Austin, and my friend, you could play the halftime, which a lot of my friends in bands did, but the one guy, he was this total punk. He owned a record studio, but he also played the trumpet. And he was playing the national anthem at the roller derby, and it was the next week we were in the studio. I was like, hey, how was the gig? He was like, I kind of fucked up. I was like, on the national anthem? He was like, yeah, pretty important part. I was like, was it like the Rocket's Red Glare part? He was like, that's the part. Like, you know when your trumpet goes, burr, 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 and then you like air fart in a microphone.
But wait, now roller derby, they used to be real teams. Are they real teams, or now is it like wrestling on
Oh
wheels?
no, they're real. They're scrappy. In my opinion, it's super fun. Real. I hope nobody tells me different.
No, it's like rugby on wheels.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's a demographic of women who are really athletic and really excited about it. There's a lot of camaraderie. I don't think they make very much money. Like they're doing it for fun.
But hard falls, like you fall and like take hits and...
How do
for
you
sure.
win?
I think, isn't it like a race?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a race. Okay.
And then they knock each other out and everything. I used to watch it on TV when I was little.
There's a ball or something, right?
I don't think there is a ball.
Or you're just racing to knock everybody
That's
down.
how bad I am.
Yeah, I don't either. I love the idea of it. I don't know
Honestly,
what
it
it
just
is.
sounds like
exactly.
the pit at a punk show.
Right,
Like,
right.
That's,
Exactly.
right?
Like I just go because they're like Helen Skelter. And I'm like, yay.
Yeah, they have great names.
And it's just awesome and kind of liberating the way that punk rock can be.
Sure.
And there might be a intersection, like a Venn diagram of punk rock and roller derby.
Oh, there is.
Sure.
Yeah, there definitely
For
is.
sure.
I
Yeah.
love to
like
roller skate.
Blunt bangs.
Oh,
Amazing.
yes.
Yeah, all that.
And there's now a women's hockey league.
You're kidding me.
I am not kidding you.
Fucking
I love
great.
hockey.
My one sport was field hockey. That's the
Oh,
only
for
thing I
sure.
could do.
Yeah, you've told me about that.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
That's a very private school thing.
Well, this
Field
is
hockey.
just upstate New York, Western New York.
Yeah.
It's actually a white trashy thing.
But you're
in our
just
school.
like, no.
Yeah,
There's
because we were always
lacrosse.
just in mud.
Nice.
We could hit people with sticks in the mud. That's what it was, and I really liked that.
Yeah, they're just pigs outdoor. Okay,
Yeah.
so wait, you saw Ed Asner read children's stories, which is
Yes.
Probably
So you
once in a
could go
lifetime.
in to this little, they had like, it was around Christmas time. So they had like a little Mr. and Mrs. Claus cottage. And you could go in and listen to him read stories. And I think there might have been young people there who thought he was just a nice old man.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no clue who he
Yeah.
was.
And I was like, that's Ed Asner in there. You guys?
We in elementary school, like Santa Claus would come visit the elementary school, but in Texas, he flew in a helicopter.
Of course.
Santa, Mrs. Claus, there was usually a Rudolph
Right.
and a Frosty. Everyone's,
And you knew the demographic of your neighborhood. Like, were you in a wealthy neighborhood? Because
No,
he would have
not
a
at
real
all.
beard.
Well, here was the thing. It was that we knew the people playing. They went to our church. So like Mrs. Claus was Georgianne Gallion. So she'd be saying hi to everyone. Everyone's like, Mrs. Claus. I'd be like, Georgianne. And she'd just wink and keep moving.
Oh, how cute!
But it really blew the suspension of disbelief.
Well, and
out the
I'm
fucking
an only
window.
child. So I was always like, it's a lie.
Yeah, no one to back
Yeah,
up the,
yeah. No one to be like, just pretend it's fun for everyone. Just relax, Jamie. I was like, they're lying to us.
Because when you're an only child, you have to do all the work.
Oh my God.
Like you have to break every superstitions or all of that ritual. You have to,
Yes.
and then there's no one to even like conference with. Like, do you think it's real? Santa? All that.
You're basically doing all the emotional labor for your parents whilst denying that any is being done.
Yeah,
Ooh,
exactly. Okay.
Were you popular in high school?
That's a good question. I think I was probably in a popular group of girls. I'm not sure if I was personally popular. I feel like in small town high schools, the popular girls really aren't liked.
Yeah, it's their target.
They're bitches.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, she's a popular girl. Not like, oh, I love Jamie and Laura. They're popular. It's more like, Oh, they think they're popular.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was one of those girls.
So in our school, it was the cheerleaders and the jockettes. They were the most popular.
Jockettes.
Yeah.
What is a jockette? Like
A female jock.
oh.
Like Sporty Spice women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was just one. And what was, Jackie Jeffries. She,
Ooh, that's a good name.
great name. And she played football. The only girl on the whole
Was she a
team.
kicker?
She was out there. I think she like played. Like they sent her out there. Yeah. Jackie Jeffries.
That's really cool.
Her sister's name was Rhiannon, and she got real mad if you even tried to sing her a Fleetwood Mac song. I was like, but I'm the only person at this school who knows who Fleetwood Mac is.
Oh.
I interrupted you when you were telling us that you saw Elvis. And
Because I'm an only child.
Yeah.
My parents got tickets to see Elvis in like 1973
Amazing.
in Fresno.
Wow.
Buckle up. And of course, like any American kid, I was obsessed with Elvis.
Yep.
And my mom was like, "Oh, that'll be fun. That's nice. We're going to go see Elvis." Like, I mean, I like Elvis enough, you know, and we got there and my mom ripped those opera glasses out of my hands and like was obsessed.
Yes. Activated.
And it was like when they still did the, you know, bum, 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 bum,
Oh,
bum, bum,
when he walks in.
ba-dum.
Was he fat at that point?
No.
Oh, wow.
He was certainly not slim, but he was like, you know, a good looking, larger Elvis, but not like he got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like white jumpsuit?
Oh, yeah,
that Elvis-
definitely.
Did he
It was
start
like
with
right
Caught in
after.
a Trap?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That's what he started with?
I don't
Can't
think he
walk
started.
out?
I'm not sure because, you know, I don't remember what he started with, but I
Okay.
do remember him wiping his sweat onto silk handkerchiefs and throwing them into the audience or silk scarves. And I was like, that's disgusting. And my mom was like, I don't know if it's disgusting or not. It seems kind of great.
Can I tell you, I just saw Genuine a few years ago, but it was, oh, wait, who sings Pony? It's Genuine, right?
I don't know.
Anyway, yes. And he did the same thing. He ripped his shirt off for the encore. There was no song ever performed. The encore was just him. He ripped his shirt off. He did push-ups over a towel. They laid a towel on stage and he did push-ups and he wiped his body on it. And then he stood up and his hype man picked up the towel and threw it into the audience.
Wow.
And the towel was disintegrated by ravenous fans.
Good God.
So that-
Genuine.
I believe, yeah, 100%.
Wow.
And this was just a few years ago. People
I
wanted
mean,
his sweat.
yeah.
So wait, what did Elvis do to you at that age? Were you?
I just thought he was really important.
Yeah.
And I thought, because I'd seen all the Elvis movies and we had all the Elvis records on vinyl, of course.
Yeah.
So I just thought that he was just a super important person.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is interesting. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before. I wasn't raised by my biological father. So
Who was Elvis?
exactly. Well, it's funny because I knew that Elvis had been sent to the army. I knew he was overseas. And you know, when you're a little kid, you just put things together, but you don't, it might not even match. And I knew that my biological father had been in the army and I didn't really know what that meant. And so I would just always look at this picture of Elvis in his GI uniform and be like, I bet that's what my dad looks like. Or I never even called him my dad, but I'd be like, that's what my father looks like that.
Yeah.
And my mom sort of disparaged Elvis at one point because there's a cover of a record and he has very pale hands with very lovely manicured nails.
And shaved fingers like me?
Exactly. The ones you wanted.
Yeah, I wanted Elvis.
And my mom was like,
What?
that's not a man.
Yeah.
Those aren't,
It's too pretty.
Yeah, too pretty. His hands
Yeah,
are
he
too
was too
pretty.
pretty.
Yeah.
It's nice that you had like Elvis to choose from. I remember my mom always had a lot of boyfriends, and I didn't realize till I was probably about 5 that the ugliest one was my dad. So I was like, that's the one?
That she fell for.
God, look what I have to look forward to. Look what's going to happen to me.
There's always a dominant side. You probably got Polly's.
Oh, it's more than, I mean, this is ridiculous to say out loud, but people know this from animal husbandry that it's more the mom than the dad.
Oh, really?
The dominant gene.
Even in horse breeding and stuff, like it's more the mom than the
Oh
dad.
my God, I FaceTimed my mom on Thanksgiving, right? She was up in her pajamas, like baking early. And we have the same hair now. I'm fucking
that's so
41.
sweet.
My
Look at
mom
your
is
great
77.
hair.
I know. Look at that. I'm so great. But even the fucking cowlick, you know, your
Yeah.
hair gets
Oh,
gray,
yeah.
so it changes the way it is. So now we have the exact same.
I know?
everything? But wait, okay, wait.
I got Barney Miller's eyebrows coming out of my head.
I
now.
love Barney
Yeah,
Miller.
yeah.
Okay, we just went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and because of I was with Margaret Cho, so we had access. So we got to go to the vault. Have you similarly?
No, but my daughter's been and they told me about it and they got so excited because they were like, they let us in for free. And if you're a touring band or a touring musician, you do get in for free.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, they're really like music friendly.
Exactly.
But they took us to the vault. And they showed us, they opened this closet and there's just clothes hanging on, right? Like it's just very unceremonious. Jimi Hendrix is in there. Stevie Nicks is in there. They're just on the thing, right? Everybody's in there. But then she pulled out, and the only reason you said it's Elvis's GI, like the real thing.
Yeah.
And some things you can't even take pictures of, right?
Right.
And they won't even let you because of the estates. But
they don't want to let anyone know they even have it.
Exist,
Until
right?
everyone who knows
yeah.
anything about it is dead.
So you couldn't get, and then the lady's holding it, right? Like you can't touch it, of course, and things. But I got close enough to sniff everything, and it smells so good. It's like musty.
Oh, does it smell like some kind of aftershave?
No, I wish. I was looking
Okay.
for like a real manly,
Like an
Good
aqua
kind of
velva?
soap.
yeah, or even just like Florida water. But I was like, it was. I was that close to it, and I was like, my
Okay.
grandmother loved Elvis,
Of course.
And I was like channeling her. I was like, we made it. Like we
Ah.
got there.
Oh, man.
But the
That
Steve-
is so good.
But the Stevie Nicks shawl was like really it.
Stop it.
Long. It's kind of aquamarine. Like suede or velvet. It's like
See, I always wonder with stuff like that because, you know, you guys are asked for stuff sometimes. Like, could you donate something to something? And I always wonder, do you give the thing that you really wore or do you give the thing that looks nice that you wish people would think you wore? Like when someone asks for a favorite book, do you give the one that's really your favorite or the one that you wish was your favorite
Oh, good
for the
question.
person you wish you were? Am I the only person that has this mental illness?
No,
You're
no.
talking about physically loaning someone a book, or you just
yeah,
a
like what's your
recommendation?
favorite book? I'm theoretically and real time. Like sometimes people will be like, "Oh, do you have something to donate for this?" And I'll be like, "Oh, yes, of course. I have this very
I'm just-
stimulating piece of literature." Or I'm like, these pulp westerns that I'm crazy about. Like those are the ones I really love.
What, Zane Grey? Is that where you go?
A little bit Louis L'Amour, Zane Grey, sure, read them all, love
yeah.
them, but they're so old fashioned. They're
They
like
are.
that Jane Withersteen is a spunky filly.
Sarsaparilla, yeah.
totally.
I think my favorite book has been the same for 25 years.
What is it?
Well, it's Clarice Lispector, Apple, An
sure.
Apple in the Dark, the Argentinian writer.
I'm just remembering that I don't think anyone has
That's
ever.
smart and fun.
No one's asked me what my favorite book is because I don't think anybody thinks I read.
Well, what is your favorite book?
I get it was always The Stranger, which is now like
Wow.
I know. In this age of mass shootings, I need to think of a more
So dark.
exactly. I need a better book.
Right. You're like Catcher in the Rye and the Stranger kind of go to the back
Yeah.
of your
It's
drawer.
like, yeah. I need to think of like a Where's Waldo?
When Garrett and I were
The Gideon Bible.
smoking
course.
pot, I always like to watch like Italian horror films or just something, from the 60s or 70s. And he said, you know what? I don't want to read. You can't read subtitles.
Absolutely.
Totally.
What was the vampire? Oh, I just finally
Anne
watched.
Rice?
I just watched for the first time ever
What?
Interview with a Vampire.
Oh,
Okay.
damn.
I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
Well, I was addicted to those books
Okay.
after Phoebe was born.
Yeah.
Because I spent all my day like duckies and puppies and cuddly, and you're just so sweet, sweet, sweet all day. The minute she would fall asleep, I would rip through those books like crazy. And then I had an analogy that, you know how those books work, like the vampire can read everyone's minds all the time. Everything, animals, people,
Yes.
they can read other vampires' minds, except they can't read the minds of the vampires that they made.
Oh.
Whoa.
And, Anne Rice wrote a lot of those books in answer to her grief over losing a child,
I
which
didn't
is
know that.
interesting. Side note. I mean, not, but so I felt like it was an analogy, like you can't have the one relationship that's the most important to you. You can never really know the person you made. And that's what it feels like to have kids.
Wild.
Like this person is so important to me. I would gladly die for them.
Sure. But
Gladly die for this person. And they're like, God, you don't understand me. And you're like, I want your happiness more than I want my own breath.
yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
you just want me to be miserable all the time.
You're like quite the opposite.
Yeah.
But those books are funny too
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're so homoerotic.
Oh, the movie.
Oh my God,
I
they're
was
so
I was
sexy.
on the fucking floor. I was laughing because it's
Yeah.
like now it's like The Bodyguard.
It seems really overly dramatic.
When's the last
almost.
time you watched The Bodyguard?
Oh, I've never watched it.
What?
I've never seen
Oh, it's so good.
It's like one of the
Camp.
greatest.
It's super campy.
but not then.
No, well, I gotta say, how old were you when you saw
No,
it?
I mean, I was a kid, but I
Yeah.
really believed it. Like I was really into
Oh,
it.
for sure.
But now it's like
It's a love story.
But
Yeah.
and with a samurai sword.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
But now I watch it and I can't stop laughing. It's the funniest movie I've ever seen. You've never seen The Bodyguard? Oh, we're okay.
Yeah.
We're having a movie.
I'm not
camp.
a Kevin. I don't know why Kevin Costner just seems boring to me.
Oh,
I guess he is a good
You're
actor,
right.
though.
He is.
But there was a short part of history where he was like hot guy. Just
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
hot, manly dude.
Yeah.
Bull
Yeah.
Durham. I would
Sure.
watch that today.
He
Yeah.
was handsome.
Yeah.
He just got. It's when actors start directing, and then that's when they
Oh,
lose.
I think Robin Hood, we can all.
Yeah, boom.
Yeah.
In pandemic, I didn't realize how much I was going till I was like doing my taxes, but I was going to get massages. And I didn't realize, I was like, oh, it's probably, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, because I had no contact with anybody.
Of
and
course.
and I was trying to seek it out. But at the time I thought, oh, my back aches and I have all this free time. But now I realize I was like, yeah, I was fucking, I needed to be
Right.
like held by some stranger in a dark room.
Well, and I think we discount how much that's needed by people, because it can be very isolating to just be like, oh, I go to work and I go home. And I know I did that for a really long time. And then you go, oh, wait, this isn't healthy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not really out there in the world. I would actually like offer to babysit for friends' kids because I just needed a person who needed me for a minute. Like,
Yeah.
let me braid your hair while we watch Snow White or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because it's nice. And then I got a dog and now everything's great.
But
I
and
have
you
to get a
two
dog.
did something. You both have what you have another thing that I admire you both for. You both did something that I cannot imagine ever doing. You were on a cruise ship with 100 or more strangers for several days.
Thousands.
That would be like
yeah.
thousands. That would be my nightmare.
What cruise were you on?
Oceania?
Were you just cruising or were you working?
Mediterranean.
Okay.
No, I wasn't working. That seems fun,
Yeah.
but also a little bit hellish because you have to read the room and the room has 1,000 people in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they talk. That's the other thing.
Oh, for
is
sure.
They don't. It's not a show.
No.
It's very different.
And it's not like, oh, this club's going to be like this and this club's going to be like this. It's like people from all over the world.
Yeah. Well, mine were gay cruises, so that really narrows it down.
Okay.
And then they always put me. There's different kinds, but they always put me on the older man cruise. Like the last one, the average age was 68, which is fine. But like, I can't call myself old. I'm 41. You know what I mean? They're 68.
Yeah.
They get offended by that. But I liked cruise.
But you went to Greece and you went, I mean, what?
Yeah.
Will you talk about it a little bit? I was
Oh, sure.
Because I haven't really talked to you since you got back about that.
I was super excited to do it. Like a couple years ago, my friend Kathy and I were talking about like what we wanted to do. And she'd want to go on a big cruise with her husband and he wasn't feeling so well. So she's like, would you want to go? And so my whole life I've wanted to go to the Parthenon.
Oh, yeah.
You see it, you think about it. It's like this imagination spark. And then you go, oh shit, I could actually fly there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was where we kind of started. Like we want a cruise that is going to leave us in Athens for a little bit. And then we just ended up on one that was like 28 days, 29 days long.
Oh, that's a long.
Because when we first did it, we were like, oh, we'll go for 2 weeks. So we made the reservation.
That's what I've done.
Then COVID.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
So we kicked the can a year. Then we kicked it another year. So by the time we went, I was like, well, crap, this might be the only time in my life I'm going to get to do this. Let's just go do this.
Yeah.
So we did it big and we started in like Barcelona. We went to like some French islands, Italian islands, Rome,
I feel like we talked about this at UnCab.
Right. I'm sure we did because I haven't stopped talking about it since
No,
I got back.
but you may have. When did you go? What year?
This July.
So it was. I think you were about to go.
Yeah.
And
it was just as good as I thought it was going to be. It was very different than I thought it was going to be, but just as good. Some things were better. Some things were weird. I know
what was
a lot
the
of
weird.
It is weird to be like at the dinner show. No offense to these hardworking performers, but you know what I mean? Like
It's so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was like a dance cabaret type
It's
thing.
very
Oh, for
vaudeville.
sure.
It's
Oh.
very
And those guys
vaudeville.
have to work really hard. And then the next morning, they basically have to be your escort to the spice market.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
So
right, right.
I'm not
Oh.
saying they weren't working hard, but
Yeah.
some of them could really sing and some of them were really good at taking us to the spice market.
Ah, nice.
And, there's a lot of older people on the cruise. I felt like a whippersnapper.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
And one thing I loved about it was there were tons of people from Florida just smoking their
Oh, people
Asses
smoke.
off.
People smoke
Oh,
cigarettes.
damn.
It's great.
Yeah, and they had like special areas where you could smoke.
Yeah.
And so I was like
you a
really good for
smoker?
yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Not all the time.
Yeah, my
Hopefully
boyfriend
no
smokes.
longer, but
hard. It's hard.
I give it up. a lot, and then I kind of have a couple. And when I was on the cruise, I felt like, well, I don't know, the retired general from Florida, and I are going to smoke some more cigarettes.
No, I've got 2 words for you: maritime law. What happened?
Yeah.
You can smoke cigarettes on
totally.
maritime law.
Wow.
You can do anything on maritime
And does your
law.
friend who you went with, did she smoke?
No, not at all.
So
But she
you were
was
on-
nice enough about it.
You were on opposite sides of the ship?
Yeah, she was really sweet about it. But so I'd be like, oh, I'm going to have another cigarette.
The casinos? That's where you can smoke.
Oh my God. I loved it. The casino,
Yeah.
because when people try to dissuade you from taking a cruise, they're like, oh, you're going to hate it. It's just a floating buffet and casino. And I was like, no part of
I
it.
love,
Yeah,
I
sounds
love
great.
casinos. I had no idea there was a casino.
I think you have a bad impression of cruises.
I do.
Maybe rightfully so. But here's the thing. I hide because it's like a cruise ship with gay guys. So the people are trying to fuck and stuff like that. So
Oh, and you're fending off Ed Asner
I'm
the
just kind
entire
of hiding.
time.
Yeah, exactly. Ed Asner just wants to read me a children's
Handsy
story. Yes.
Ed, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And no disrespect, that's the community. But it's like I just wasn't in the mood. So I equally like performing. I love a buffet. But the one thing I love to do is like smoke some weed and just stare at the open ocean.
Oh,
Like I could do that shit for days,
Or
apparently.
have
we
a
need our own boat.
Yeah.
Yes, a pina colada.
Yeah.
And the thing I loved about it was forced downtime, literally. There were
Yeah,
days
that's
when you
true.
couldn't get on the internet.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything about it. And you just are laying in the sun with a pina colada.
The one thing
Sure.
that fucking whipped me back to earth real fast was like day 4 on the cruise where you have no service.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden you get the first text message
yeah,
you've gotten
yeah.
out of days is AT&T saying you've exceeded your
Yes,
limits and
you've
you have
crossed the date line.
$1,000. Yeah. You just charged
Yeah.
$1,000 to check your voicemail.
I know. I had to get real middle-aged lady on them.
Same.
Because I had to call them and be like, excuse me, but I checked my plan before I left the United States. And I told you, I basically told you the serial number of the boat I'm going to be on and everything.
I did the same thing. I was like, I checked my coverage
Yeah.
and I'm covered in Cartagena.
I only know because
in my
I don't know where we are, but I know that we're covered.
I'm fucking covered. Right.
Oh, and I mean,
Oh, that's funny.
my daughter was on tour once and they crossed some crazy ass maritime border, like some border in
Yeah.
the ocean where her coverage lapsed.
Oh, jeez.
And the AT&T was like, that's going to be $1,500.
Yeah, oh,
And-
sorry.
Yeah. And I was just like, you guys,
Yeah.
There's
just don't serve me there.
Yeah.
yeah, just
in
turn
that
it
little,
off.
yeah.
Yeah,
Turn
they
it
should
off.
let you know.
Don't we have a do not serve me there
Yeah.
order?
There's Madonna's writer, which is excessive because she has a huge entourage.
Oh, I
and
would
stuff.
love to read it.
Hers is good. The best is Grace Jones. Grace Jones is a killer writer. It's like the best champagne, oysters, and then the thing is, what do you open an oyster with? What's it called?
Shucker.
Yeah, so it is included on her writer is an oyster shucker.
I
which
knew
is
that too quickly.
No,
You're kind of
don't
half
know.
looting, aren't you?
I love a good shuck. You're a woman of the sea. You know oyster talk.
Yeah.
But Madonna has one of the weirder things is 20 international landlines.
What?
And I'm like, that's why. We don't pay roaming. She's Madonna.
20 of them.
20 international landlines. Like, what the fuck kind of online gambling shit is she? Like,
Wow.
But to me, I'm like, that's probably
Okay.
a money saver in the long term if you're in Sao Paulo
Right.
and all of a sudden you're trying to call Rocco back home.
I love the idea of a writer.
Oh, I
Of being able to
love a
say, I
writer.
want this kind of sparkling water. I want this. Also, the fact
Do you
that
hold back
on-
if given a writer? Do you shoot for the moon?
I've never had one.
I've never had one
I'm
either.
sorry to tell you. I've had people say, like, what do you want for lunch?
Yeah.
But I've never had anybody say, like,
Well,
what,
how'd
would
they
you,
say it? What do you want for lunch?
what would you like in the fridge?
Yeah.
Can I tell you a really good Tom Waits story really fast?
Oh, please.
So my friend worked at Amoeba in SF and he had 2 phones and it was Mrs. Waits getting back order LP records through Amoeba. So my friend's the one who's transacting the deal. So he's got Mrs. Waits on the phone and the distributor on the other phone.
Okay.
And he's doing the middle talking. So there's a lot of dead time. So he's just eavesdropping on Mrs. Waits. And what she hears is, Tom, I'm making lunch. What do you want?
And what did
No,
you want?
Tom, I'm not making pancakes. What do you want? I'm having a turkey sandwich, Tom. What do you want for lunch? Tom, you can't just have pancakes all day. And it's just this argument with Tom Waits, and
that's
he's in
awesome.
the background going, I just want pancakes, which I thought was that's the Tom Waits I want.
Oh, please.
Right?
Yes.
Have you
And
ever
I
met
would make him pancakes.
Yeah.
But she's also his muse, and like I think she's done a lot for his work, so maybe she doesn't have to make him pancakes
No.
anymore. You know what I mean?
Did you read Ricky Lee Jones' Last Chance Texaco book?
No, is it good?
Oh, it's so good.
I did take Phoebe to see her when she played at the Echo and had her dog on stage, and we got the full Ricky Lee Jones treatment. But I didn't read the book, so I should.
It is beautiful, and a lot of it is just growing up in LA or not growing up, but coming up in the
Being
70s, and a lot of Tom Waits stuff in it.
Well, it's funny because we took one of Phoebe's friends, 8th grade. I was like, "Hey, Ricky Lee Jones is playing at the Echo. I got tickets. Do you want to come?" And the mom was like, "Oh, well, totally. That would be great." So we got there at like 8. The show was supposed to start at like 8, but it's music. So like doors are at 8.
Right.
And we sat down, and around 9 o'clock, my friend goes, we need to go because she has a test tomorrow. And that's when I knew that I was either the best mom in the world or the worst mom in the world. Because I was like, I don't care about a test. Ricky Lee Jones is going to go on.
Yeah.
And then she just like walked back and forth across the stage. I mean, she sang and was awesome, but she was also like, my dog's on stage. I'm sorry about my dog. And I loved her.
Yes. Nina Simone she was never on time to perform because her whole thing was she won't perform until she thinks the audience is ready for her.
Ooh.
So like if showtime is 8:30, but she's like, no, they're not ready. Like the anticipation that she would build up was her metric for when she should take the stage.
I saw Madonna at the Wiltern, and it was during that tour where she wasn't taking the stage till like 12:30.
Yeah.
And I knew it was going to start late.
That's too late.
But I got there at like 10, and I had 2 Papa Don't Peaches. And I slept through most of the show.
Yeah,
God.
it's too late.
It was for me.
That's too late.
She showed up late when she was on Will and Grace. She showed up late to a table read, an hour and a half.
Shut the fuck up.
And let everybody wait and said, well, I know I'm really late, but
I'm Madonna.
tough shit, I'm Madonna.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Okay, what is...
I wasn't there. I would have said, you're so fucking lame.
Really?
I wasn't there, though. But the other writers told me about it, that they had to wait that long.
And apparently Robert Redford has a reputation for always being late everywhere. And my friend told me, like, no, you don't understand, like really late. And I was like, I don't get it. And then I saw one of those photos, that people give to people when they're on a show. And it was to a friend of mine from Robert Redford. And it said, "Dear Dawn, sorry about the wait."
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, it's like a thing.
Yeah.
And then anybody who's worked is like, no, it's a big deal. It's more than an hour. Like it's way more than an hour.
And what's he doing?
Is it like a TED Talk?
What
does he do?
It's a TED Talk.
What is he doing that you're waiting to see?
Yeah, is he meditating or?
I'm a habitually late person, but it ultimately comes down to I am just distracted. It's like I keys in the door, ready to lock it, and I'll be like, "Oh, look, my Fender Rhodes."
Right.
I haven't played that in
Of course.
forever.
Well, and being early is such a gift to yourself. Like if you are early, you feel like, oh, the grace that is, I'm bathed in grace. That never happens because I never allow myself.
Yeah. It never. I finally, in my 40s, have aged out of, just one more beer before I leave for the airport.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Or I'll just have another beer before I pack.
Right.
And I have an hour.
I really want to organize that drawer.
Yeah, but I love that adrenaline.
My friend calls it cleaning the fan before finals.
Yes.
You know how there's just shit you won't do, and then you're like, have to do a task that you desire less.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I've never really cleaned this whole thing with a toothbrush.
But
I've
I
never
should
taken
today.
it. Yeah.
And now.
Yeah.
Totally.
I feel like I'm always kind of in my head about something. Like, it was crazy. I had a dream about a boss at a show I was working on asked me my opinion. And that would never happen. So that's a fucking dream. And then I said exactly what I thought. And then the really crazy end of the dream was, Laura, you're right. Which I call the 3 most beautiful words in the English language.
That was an erotic dream.
Yeah, it might as well be.
Laura's like, don't wake me up.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Someone
it.
asked my opinion and I gave it. No, you didn't feel that as a female? Do men ever ask your opinion?
It's always a trap.
Yeah.
They might ask it, but as a way to prove how little you understand.
Yeah.
I have a series of jokes that I thought were funny for a while about like listening to music with men or reading books with men. Sorry, no offense.
No, I am one, but I constantly say men are the worst because we are. And sometimes when I catch myself being a man, I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I doing this? Like, but
so
yeah, it's okay.
Guys will like recommend something to you and then they'll be like, did you listen to it properly?
Properly.
Yeah.
Like if you don't love it.
You didn't listen to it right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. So if you don't say, you're right, they're amazing.
Right. I love that math rock is it's really shook my soul. And then I really like the Grateful Dead a lot.
Really?
And have been to, back in the day when you still could, I would go see them whenever I got the chance, not follow them like some people, but like whenever, and I'm from Northern California, so I got a chance to see them quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And I love the Grateful Dead, and I don't want to defend the Grateful Dead anymore. Like if you don't like it, I get it. You don't have to.
Right. Same but different. Tori Amos. It's like she has the same psycho following.
Yes, and there's a certain type of young, lovely, sensitive man.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, who is like addicted to Tori Amos, and I love you for it.
Yeah, but it's like a very small club.
I have a tiny story about the Grateful Dead. My mom and I were looking at colleges in Syracuse because I was trying to get into the SI Newhouse School of Journalism. The SI Newhouse School of Journalism. I can't even say the word.
Indeed.
And but I got in, but it was too expensive anyway. But on our way there were kids, like probably teenage 1920s, hitchhiking, and my mom picked up this kid. And because we were already kind of on the campus, it's a huge campus, and he got in the back seat, and my mom said, "Oh, so what do you do?" And he goes, "Well, I follow the dead." My mom looks at me like,
like he's a psychic or something. Yeah,
I follow the dead. And my mom, I said, "It's a band. It's the Grateful Dead, mother."
Come on.
My God!
Wait, your mom just picked up a hitchhiker?
Well, it was a kid who was we were kind of like in the campus. Like it's a huge campus, so we were kind of like on the main street, like going through.
Just giving him a quick ride.
She sounds kind of open-minded and groovy because my mom would be like, "Lock the door."
She was, Sweet. But I mean, he was a young college kid.
We were driving to the grocery store as kids, in my mom's Subaru, and we were just turning the corner down the street, and it's like it's Texas, so rain just started. All of a sudden, it's like monsoon out of nowhere. And on the side of it, I'll never forget. There's this poor woman. She's got 2 grocery sacks, and she's just getting obliterated by the rain, right? And we all see her, and my mom, bleeding heart, she's like, she asked us, we're little kids, we're 4 and 6 maybe, and she's like, "Is it okay if I give that lady a ride?" And we're kids, we think this is like a stranger danger and a test. And so we now just imagine this wet monster getting in the car. My sister and I are freaking out. So my mom didn't stop the car. I can still see that woman. Like she's probably still walking in the
you
rain.
Can't teach your kids not to talk to strangers and then teach them to talk to strangers.
And help them. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there was a no-win situation.
We thought, were we going to get in trouble if we said yeah?
Okay, this is my mom. Not a crazy person in general, but one day I came home from school. It was right after The Exorcist came out.
Ooh.
And my mom was Catholic. And so The Exorcist seemed real. Which is so silly.
Yes.
But at a time, my mom was like, "Oh, well,
it's going around."
She invited Satan in with the Ouija board. She had the Ouija board. That's how Satan was invited in. Like I was like, "Oh my God, you gave me one for Christmas last year." Like and so one day she thought it'd be really funny when I was in the 3rd grade and I came through the front door to like come towards the door like she was a zombie.
What?
And she put her eyes, like rolled her eyes in the background, and I was like, "Urgh." And I got super freaked out. I'm an only child. I wasn't like, "Mom, shut up."
Yes.
And I grabbed a book off the shelf and like raised it up like I was going to throw it at her. And she immediately goes, "Did you just raise your hand to me?" Like I was in trouble. And I was like, "You're acting like you're possessed by the devil."
Right.
And she was like, "I was just kidding." Oh. You can't mess with a little kid's head like that.
No, they don't know.
I went through a phase of being Carrie White to my mother, kind of
God.
just like
funny.
Whatever she said. "You're not going out," because I was like 12 or 13, going out drinking, or whatever. And I whatever she'd say, I'd say, "It's a sin, Mama." She's like, "You're not going to drink, are you?" "No, it's a sin, Mama." And she was like,
God.
"Are you going to drink?" Because I'm not.
Like Natalie Wood from Splendor in the Grass. "I'm clean, Mama. I'm so clean."
Wait,
that movie tortured me.
Oh my God!
Splendor in the Grass.
It's so unfair.
I watched that with my mother.
It is so.
We both were crying.
Oh, it's so unfair.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It's horrifyingly unfair.
Oh, I know.
She should be with him at the end.
Oh, it's so terrible.
And then I feel bad for the Italian waitress who
Always.
ends up with him.
Always.
She was beautiful.
And she understood what was going on. Oh, man.
What was your first? You talked about Elvis and the Rolling Stones. What was your first concert? Was it Elvis?
Elvis was my first concert.
That's incredible.
And the first one I paid for with my own money was Huey Lewis and the News.
That's a good one.
And I'm telling you, showmanship.
Yeah.
Okay. Why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with a name like that. Have you seen Dwight Yoakam ever?
Of
But it's not
course.
sexy. You know what?
Showmanship, right?
I wound
He's
up
like-
going out with the News, the whole band. And,
That's right. You have a story.
no, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I was kidding. I was just saying, like, what is there sexy about any of that? And Garrett and I, we went to the Cruel World concert.
Oh, you did.
And I thought Gary Newman was amazing. And, you know, he played in cars. And I said, are we going to yell out, Gary? It's like an accountant's name, Gary. Yeah, do it, Gary. Play.
It's the least sexy name.
I know Gary Newman. Gary Newman. My
Aw,
accountant, Gary
Doug.
Newman.
Uh-huh.
And Gary Newman. Yeah.
There's
Well,
sorry.
sorry
No,
to interrupt you.
Martin Short has a lot of stories about meeting Lucille Ball on airplanes, and
damn.
it's always about he knows it's her when he can see him elbowing her husband, going Gary. Like Gary's the worst name.
Oh, she was the best.
Did you ever meet her?
No,
Oh,
but
I
those
know.
interviews were so good. She didn't mince words. She wasn't like Elizabeth Taylor, you know, sometimes will say something a little bit nasty about
Yes.
somebody, but very rarely. Usually she's like, God love them. And
Yeah.
I've just enjoyed it. And Lucille Ball was like, that person was a dirty
Cutthroat.
bastard.
Cutthroat.
I kind of loved it.
I love it.
So I saw Dwight Yoakam, his first big tour when he took Buck Owens with him.
Oh my God, you saw Buck
Amazing.
Owens.
And Katie Lang opened
When she was doing country music?
when she was wearing her cowgirl outfit
Yes!
before anybody knew who she was.
Have you ever read the
Incredible.
liner notes of like Katie Lang's first album?
Oh, hell yes.
And it's like, thank you, every country legend ever who helped her record
Right.
it. You saw Katie Lang do country music.
Yes.
Like Shadowland, or what is the fucking album?
It was her
Shadow
first.
of your sun.
It was her first record.
Yes.
Have
you heard it?
It was before she was famous.
No, and I don't even know what she's doing. You mean she's
around.
I thought she was always doing country. Did
And
she?
then
No.
she switched to standards. She did some stuff with Tony Bennett.
Oh, right.
She did a lot of like rockabilly stuff
She did an album all about smoking. There's an album totally dedicated to the
because
cigarette.
she can.
Yeah,
And then she,
I love
Could
Katie
you do
Lang.
a
And-
Christian album?
No,
Oh,
never.
God.
I know. Kidding.
Remember when she said she was a lesbian first, when she first came out, she was interviewed and somebody said, do you think you sacrificed a lot or did you give up a lot of your country music audience when you came out as gay? And she goes, no. Those people haven't listened to me since they found out I was a vegetarian.
Exactly.
Wow,
Like,
that's
it's
Thank
just
you.
like,
Thank you.
it's just done. But
That's so damn smart.
I
That's
won tickets on the radio to see Dwight Yoakam at the Universal Amphitheater.
Incredible.
Wow.
And so it was like nosebleeds,
That's
but
up in.
it's at Universal Studios.
Oh, here.
It's now, what is it? The Gibson. It was the Gibson, the Universal Amphitheater.
okay,
it was
okay,
like
sorry.
a bunch of different.
Okay.
It's had a million names.
Yeah.
I still call it Sears Tower when I'm in Chicago. I don't know about other people.
It's
do.
like Garrett said it last week. He was like, I saw whatever band at Coca-Cola Starplex. I was
Yes,
like, it has
yes.
not been called that
Oh,
in
and
decades.
it's still Staples, right? It's not Crypto Arena.
yeah, it's Staples Forever. Yeah,
Man, I think I
Exactly,
fell in love with him in Sling Blade.
I
really
Billy
did.
Bob,
Yeah, no.
Buck Owens.
But
No,
Dwight Yoakam.
Dwight, yeah, it was
Oh,
Dwight
yeah.
Yoakam. But
Yeah, he was the
he-
bad stepdad
yeah,
who
yeah.
got killed at the end, and it
Yeah.
was so amazingly
Oh, it was so well
satisfying.
done. Yeah.
And Billy Bob Thornton actually said that he had seen him on that tour and like basically turned to his partner, who I think was Angelina maybe at the
Yeah.
time, was like, oh, that person needs to express themselves through art, like that person. Because that's
Wow.
a shtick. Like, let's face it, Porter Wagner, Buck Owens,
Yep.
even Dolly Parton.
Yep.
Not that she's not an authentic person, but what you choose to put forward is kind of a shtick after a while. Like, it's,
Absolutely.
you know, she
Yeah.
doesn't tell anybody when she's having a bad day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even people who do that as a shtick.
Correct.
I
Terrific. And
remember
she was so good in 9 to 5. I mean, she's a good actress too. Yeah.
she's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen her live?
Oh, yeah.
I saw her live.
Yeah.
It was like her Christmas tour. Did we talk about this? Or I went in full drag, and because this is the way I used
And
to.
she loves it.
Oh, the whole town.
Yeah,
but there's
bring
also
it.
not weird, but there's also a strong Christian element to her
Oh, right.
audience.
Sure.
But in Texas, you have this strange conundrum of Christian lesbians. Where
Yes.
they're like clad in like silver crosses and stuff, but they're a little judgy against a gay man in drag at a Dolly show.
Right.
Pick
Pick your lane, ladies.
But Dolly
Yeah.
can fucking sing, like to this day.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
And
I'm sorry, I got us off the track
Play
for the
everything.
1000th time.
Oh, no, that's
Did
my
you
job.
tell me about the Dwight Yoakam?
Oh, yeah,
tour?
sorry. Yeah.
I
Buck
didn't-
Owens.
oh, well, yeah. I mean, that was when he did Streets of Bakersfield, and that's an old Buck Owens song. And so he
Amazing.
covered it, and Buck Owens came on stage. And when I was a kid, I thought Buck Owens was like Jesus. Like, he definitely
yeah.
held that
That-
kind of position in my family. Like,
Amazing.
Yeah.
important person.
That song, If You Fall Out of Love with Me, Don't Let Me Know.
Oh.
That's the saddest lyric I've ever
Incredible.
heard.
And that guy can play.
Yes.
I mean, but also his guitar player, Don Rich. Like, I was one of those little kids who was like crazy over like Larry McNeely, who was Glenn Campbell's banjo player.
Oh, man.
So
You know your parents are in hell when you're like, I'm going to marry Larry McNeely.
They were the part of the Wrecking Crew, right?
Well, Glenn Campbell was part of the Wrecking Crew.
Okay.
And then when he got famous, he had his own band.
Okay.
And those guys were amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Buck Owens had a great band, the Buckaroos.
Oh.
Merle Haggard, actually, this is funny. Merle Haggard married Buck Owens' ex-wife. Like she left, Bonnie Owens left Buck Owens for Merle Haggard.
Merle.
She's like the Patty Boyd of country music.
Shit.
And she actually wrote some of Merle's early hits.
Oh, wow.
And you can hear her on the early songs, like singing harmony.
Wow.
Damn.
And I would love to know what was up with that. And they were still friends afterwards too.
Oh, really?
So I just feel like the
is that
world
about?
so good.
My friend's grandfather, who I'm not sure if he's still with us, but up until a few years ago. Oh, the same friend I was telling you who was getting trolled.
Oh yeah.
Her husband's grandfather was the pedal steel guitar player for Bob Wills.
Stop.
Jeez.
I found
And
that.
he's like the James Brown of bluegrass music,
Thank
like
you.
tight band,
Yes.
awesome band. It's almost like being in the military.
Correct, yeah, and legendary. And I think he was there when he got all of them back for the final recordings.
Stop it.
So it was one of those things where I had known this person for a few years before I learned that, and I was like, the first thing out of your mouth should be, "Hello, my name is Aaron, and my grandfather is a pedal
Exactly.
steel guitar player for Bob Wills."
I got to meet JD Manis, who was Sweethearts of the Rodeo
Yeah.
pedal steel. And it's always funny when you meet somebody like that because, of course, he has a lot of fans who don't know what he looks like
Exactly.
and maybe don't even know his name. But you grew up listening to that music and you love it, but you don't know until you know. And I got to help him like unload some equipment. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I want to touch the hem of your garment.
But I think also in the old days when you'd listen to music and there wasn't a phone or anything else to maybe television to distract you, but you would really just look at the album.
Oh, and remember the record store books? You probably maybe you're too
No, I
young
do,
to remember.
yeah.
They had those huge catalogs, and you could see like who produced what record.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like going to the track and betting the jockey,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
bet the producer like, oh, if he produced that record, then
is
maybe
good.
this one. Or I used to have a theory that if Emmylou Harris sang backup on a record or any harmony at all, it was amazing because she's such a snob in the best possible way.
Oh, really?
Like she wouldn't touch anything unless it was good.
Yeah.
So I bought a lot of things based on that. Or even if you look at like, James Taylor, those records, Linda Ronstadt, you look at the band, those guys are all
You both are so like
Famous.
smart and insightful from such a young age. I feel like I kind of just skimmed over everything,
No
like when
way.
I was in school or whatever.
maybe
like,
you had friends.
well, yeah, I had friends. But, I mean,
Hobbies.
like I'd buy an album because I heard some guy liked it, or my hang was the arcade in the mall, the Red Baron arcade.
Oh, for sure.
I would never go into depth about anything, like find out who anybody would be like, oh, well, he likes that, so I'm going to get it. And I remember this one time I went to Puerto Rico. My mom and I were sneaking around to meet my father there.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and-
Full trip to Puerto Rico
Yeah.
just for that.
Yep.
Wow.
And there was this really cute guy that I met who was like the tourist, photographer in one of those booths. And he took our picture, and we were kind of joking around with him, my mom and I, because he was really cute. And his name was Kike Henry. And I wound up seeing him afterward later that day because my mom said, "Oh, well, we're staying at the hotel." My mom practically gave me away, so so we could be with my dad alone for a couple of seconds. And she was, "Oh, if you," and then I remember at one point he said, "So, do you like Foreigner?" And I said, "Yeah,
of
do you like
course.
me?"
Oh my God.
Like what a fucking hick asshole I was. He goes, what do you mean? Like, I'm the foreigner. I'm in fucking Puerto Rico.
Feels like
Yes.
the first
You
time.
like me?
Feels like the
racist
very
on
first time.
So many levels.
Oh my God almighty. And I think he laughed because I was 16, he was probably like 21. I think he laughed it off.
That is
oh my
really
God,
funny.
he was so handsome. Such a cute guy.
We glossed over something really fast, is that you got into journalism school, but you couldn't go because it was too expensive.
Yeah, they were going to let me into a different program.
Okay.
I kind of had the money for that, but it would take 2 years at least to get into the program I wanted, and I didn't have the money to actually get in, to wait.
What did that do to you? I didn't know you had a journalistic streak to you.
Well, nothing really. I just wound up, I went to Fredonia State for a year. That was, and then went to Emerson and
Yeah.
transferred to Emerson.
Was that the end of your journalism aspirations?
Yeah, pretty much. And plus, my dad was a real asshole. Like at that very trip in Puerto Rico, we were talking, goes, what would you like to do? And I didn't want to say anything about like that I wanted to be a performer or anything because I knew he'd shoot it down. So I thought it sounded smart to say, I think I'd like to be a broadcast journalist. And he said, do you know how smart and attractive you have to be to do that?
Oh my God. Are you kidding? What a fucking asshole.
And then I said, well, look what I had to work with. 'Cause he's
Oh
so
my
ugly.
God. Oh my God.
And I ran out of the room. And
Into the arms of Kiko.
I ran out of the room. I would. No, God, that was even, I think that was a little bit before that. Yeah, I just ran into the bathroom. My mom ran after me to say, I don't know why he said that. I think he doesn't realize how awful he sounds.
That's horrible.
And my mom said like that I didn't speak to him after that.
Plus, my disease is I'm like, but you're smart and beautiful. Like, I'm like, it would have been okay to say if it was true. But you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And it could be, we didn't really know about people being bipolar and stuff. And, he's not the best guy if he's cheating on his wife and kids with my mother. So
The organization of making a full-on trip to Puerto Rico, which I'm sure you're like, "Look, we're going to a different country." It's like, bitch, no, you're like, you know what I mean? Just even that location to me. is
Right.
so-
well, I even had to think, he said, okay, ask me something specifically. Because I would always ask about my half-brothers and sisters.
Yeah,
He didn't
of
want me to know
course, of
anything.
course.
And he said, ask me something about me specifically. And I said, what do you tell your wife when you go to see my mother? And that was the end of our relationship again.
Wild.
I really have a way of sticking my foot in it.
No,
But that's
you have
doing
these
it.
zingers.
Valid.
Yeah.
I'm doing it at my job now, too.
And you know what?
No,
But valid.
100
You know what I mean? Like if you're a parent and you're not ready to answer some of those questions, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Your kid is going to snap at you with the thing you're most pained about. For
gosh.
sure.
Yeah.
I always thought that writers who had kids, like at a certain point, your kid's going to be like, I'm not one of your characters, Dad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or a psychiatrist, like, I'm not one of your patients.
Yes, exactly.
So it's totally natural to say that. And, your kid is going to basically say, I hate you at some point. You have to be like, deep breath.
You're a stand-up comedian and a writer. Was that something you've done before or after you had kids?
Oh, after, for sure.
So how did that come up? I think people fall into comedy. I did.
Yeah.
Right?
Obviously over your life, like I did like writing. I got my degree in journalism from Chico State, which was not too expensive.
Wait, I was
Laura.
just in Chico.
Fantastic. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it
just
wasn't too
performed in
expensive.
Chico.
Oh, nice. So I wanted to be a writer of some sort, but then, life happens to you and you get different jobs or whatever. So I kind of didn't think about it that much. And sometimes people,
Sorry, it's always 3:30.
oh no, not at all. Not at all.
And you
then-
married an asshole.
well,
She's
yes.
too nice to say. Her husband was a terrible, terrible,
But
abusive dick.
well.
All right.
Anyway, so we, well, anyway.
A man's fist gets in the way,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
So
So
get
I-
out of the hospital.
But
Men are the worst.
when that was over, I found myself with a lot of relaxing free time. My life got very pleasant, and pleasant is sometimes boring. And so I was looking for something that would be exciting and fun, and I got one of those emails because I followed Beth Lapides and UnCabaret online because I'd been to see a couple of shows and loved it. And so I got one of those things from Beth that was like, do you have a creative voice that you would like to explore through this class? She did this writing class. And I thought, oh, that might be fun. And I kind of swiped through it. And then I got another meme. Some friend sent me like an inspirational meme that said, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And I was like, well, that's easy, stand-up comedy. And then I was just at my desk job, like typing away. And I went, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If you would do it and you could do it, why aren't you trying it? So I went to Beth's class. It was the first day of the class was on my birthday years ago, like
when's
8
your
years ago, June 1st.
Okay.
It was a Monday. So it was like, what am I going to do on my birthday? So I asked my friend if she would go with me, and she did. And it was funny because you had to do 5 minutes of original material.
Wow.
And then she did 10 minutes of critique. And not since, but that night I killed.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's
The
what
first
is it?
one.
Yeah.
The first one.
I killed.
And
And I
why
got
is-
such a high off of it. And I was like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
I think you are a natural, though. I think you really are a natural. Because I've seen you on stage, and you're so comfortable and
You are
smart
very
and funny. And it's
comfortable,
just,
very...
It
Yeah.
was super fun. And I loved it. And then Beth and I, over the course of that class and the next one, because I signed up again, I couldn't get enough of it, we became friends. And then I started helping out at UnCabaret, and a couple of times like somebody wouldn't come, and so I got to take their spot. And then I started doing the kind of the end spot, like I guess the cleanup spot or whatever. I don't know what you call it, but I would do that spot, and I loved it because I got to reference back and hearken back to what other people had said, and I also got to hang out with people like you guys, which that's the whole reason to do it in the first place.
Of all the shows, like around town and stuff, because I'm a bad comedian because I don't like to hang. I'm so anxiety. I just have to do it and leave.
I think a lot of people don't hang.
It's
you got stuff to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'm just nervous and I have to leave. But that show in particular, UnCabaret, is like, I do like to hang out and like fraternize and watch and like support. There's something about it.
It's such a positive atmosphere too, I think. It is really, and Beth really, she's an incredible host, she kind of, brings it in. But closing that show after doing stand up for such a short time is pretty amazing. And you've
nice.
closed every show since it went to El Cid, right?
Yeah, except for when I was on the cruise.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I love it because, everybody's so fun. And I think I might be lazy sometimes about writing. And I think stand up in some ways is a perfect thing because you have the fire under your butt. Like if you have to do 15 minutes, you actually have to write something.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
And if you don't, it gets really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I found something that feels really dangerous. It's not. The worst thing that could happen is that I bomb, and I certainly have. And then I go home and rewrite my stuff. Or it goes great and it feels amazing. And then you get whatever endorphins you were looking for in the first place. So it's been awesome. And, my kids are super supportive of it. And I like the people I met. It's really great. And of course, a couple of times, goofy, weird stuff happens, but that's just getting out there and living in the world. So I'm very grateful.
What was a really goofy thing that happened, or weird thing? Like you haven't been heckled at the UnCab, have you?
No, not at UnCab. For a while, like before COVID especially, I was going around town doing like, all kinds of, any place I could get on a show, I was doing it. And a couple of times, like at maybe out of town gigs or whatever, it was like traditional comedy where they're like, hey, brr, brr, brr. And I'm not, club. I'm not super skilled with that.
Sure.
But I did a show at Pappy and Harriet's up near Joshua Tree, like Pioneertown.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
And I bombed so badly. It still gives me hives just think about it. But I was on stage. It was hot. It was in November. So it's inside, the heater's on. And I started to sweat because it wasn't going great. And, my UnCab jokes didn't really work up there where people are wearing like matching hunting outfits.
Oh, shit.
In the front row. No offense to them. No blame the crowd. It was me bringing that material to Pioneertown. And so I started to sweat and it wasn't going great. And so when I left the stage, I just went out the side door off the side of the stage, which goes directly outside. I don't know if you've been to Pappy and Harriet's, but it's big roadhouse. So it's big, wide expanse, like a campus. So I had to walk all the way around. It was like 12 degrees.
Oh, shit.
And I was freezing and also sweating. And I went inside the front and I went into the bathroom and this little older lady was there and she goes, "Are you okay, honey?" That was rough.
Oh, no.
And I said, "Yeah, I think I'm okay." And she goes, "Well, I really liked your nesting bowls joke."
See, there you go. There you go.
Where can we see you next? Where can our fans see you next?
I'll be performing at the Leonard Nimoy Theater with the UnCabaret show on December 16th.
Fantastic.
And you can get tickets through the UCLA website because it's part of their series. And so I feel like a real girl.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really cool. That's awesome.
It's going to be fun. I think so. And Beth Lapides always puts together a fun group of people. That's how I met you all. And I'm so grateful for her. She is definitely Saint Beth Lapides.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, she was great on our show too.
But we're grateful for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad I got to see you, Jamie. Okay. So, and your new love is waiting for you. So we're going to have to say goodbye.
Indeed.
Yeah. I'm so glad about that. Okay.
Yay. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks for having me.
Jamie.
This is awesome.